right, so yesterday we went over this Java calculator. We went over part 1. And what I gave you, when I gave you my key, it worked except when there was, for one of the cases, when there was an error, when you put in something out of range, I put the wrong message in there. So it was very confusing. You were asked to enter a 0, 1, 2, 3, or 4, but if you didn't put one of those in, instead of telling you to enter a 0, 1, 2, 3, or 4, it told you to enter a number, which was just stupid. All right, I believe at least I fixed it. Now, one thing I don't understand, I've Googled it, so you guys seem to be much better at this than I am, but when I run this, you see how small that box is? It shouldn't be that small. Wait till you see the next program. It's about half that size. All right. So this does work. If I put in something out of range, it comes back and it just says out of range must be 0 to 4. All right. If I put in a 0, it ends the program. If I put in a 1, it's going to add. So I'll just put in 33 and 44. 33 plus 44 is 77. All right. If I put in a 2, 33 and 44. 33 minus 44 is negative 11. If I put in a 3, and 33 and 44. 33 times 44 is 1,452. And if I put in a 33 and a 44 and I tell it to do the divide, all right, which is 4. Oh, I thought I did it right. Let's see. Okay, there it is. 0.75. All right. And a 0 will end the program. So what I had in here before, if you look up on the screen, it all worked okay. The problem was you were told when you started to run this to do this. To enter a 0 to end the program, enter a 1 to do the sum, enter a 2 to do the difference, etc. And what was wrong with that, the way that it was written, was if you made a mistake, you ended up... All right, if you made a mistake, what ended up happening is instead of giving you this same message back again, which is what it was supposed to do, all right, instead of doing that, what it did was I put an error message from a different part of the code because I stupidly used copy and paste. But now it works. All right. So we went over the program yesterday, so I don't want to do that right now. All right, but what I am going to do is I'm going to grab this. I was screwing around with this before, and I found out it's totally fine for me to sit there and put both programs together as long as I comment one of them out. Okay, so that's what I've done. All right, so this is the Java'd up version of that first program, except I'm missing my package statement. So this is the second or first, I don't even know, but this is the handout that I gave you. Okay, so let's get rid of this and put in that. All right. Now it should be okay. There shouldn't be any errors or anything in it. There isn't. Okay, so if you look on the yesterday when we went over this, we said for version 2, you were supposed to Java up the simple Java calculator. All right. So the bottom line was you were supposed to write a constructor. All right. You were supposed to call get number, set number for number 1, get number and set number for number 2, get sum, get diff, set diff, get prod, set prod, get quote, set quote, and a display all. Now, whether you get Java or not, does that part make sense? What you were supposed to be doing there. Those get functions were just going to return the values. The set functions were going to set the values. All right? And I told you to generate 25 of these. Well, I ended up with mine only generating 5 because it was too big of a pain in the butt to have it run 25 times. So I just did it 5. All right? I don't care. That's not important. You know, whether you did this 25 times, 5 times, or 5 million times doesn't matter. All right. So what I did in order to do that then, again, this is on the top of the copy that you have. It says here, someplace on it, Java Calculator version 2. All right. So what did I do here? Why is this magical? Whatever. Or is it magical? All right. So just looking through it, notice that when we did the first version, what I did was I took all those variables, number 1, number 2, sum, difference, etc. I put all of those into main. All right? They were all local variables in main. Well, in the second copy here, it's not what we're doing. We're making all of these instance variables. I'm going to run this 5 times. Every time I run this, I'm going to generate a first number and a second number. Then I'm going to generate a sum and a difference and a product and a quotient. I'm going to do that for every set of numbers I have. Does that make sense? Since I'm running it 5 times, I'm going to have 5 sets of those. So every time I create an instance, all right, or an object of the calculator class, I'm going to have these. So I made them instance variables. All right. I got lazy and I said rather than me having to input those, I'm going to have them randomly created for me. Did everybody hear that? I'm having those numbers randomly generated for me. So this is basically saying I want to create a new instance of the random number class. All right. So here was my constructor. Pretty simple, really. Set number 1, set number 2. Set sum, set diff, set product, set quotient, and display all. Looking at that, all that's doing for set number 1 is it's going to put a value in there for number 1. For set number 2, it's going to put a value in there for number 2. For set sum, it's going to add number 1 plus number 2. For set diff, it's going to subtract number 2 from number 1. For set prod, it's going to multiply number 1 by number 2. And for set quote, it's going to divide number 1 by number 2. Do those make sense? It's the same kind of thing. So in other words, in English, I'm going to randomly generate 2 numbers. I'm going to make these up. They mean nothing. So after I do that, let's just say for number 1, I've generated 67. And for number 2, I've generated 33. Okay? So that's going to end up being what we get from this. That's going to end up being what we get from this. Then set sum, it's going to be just 67 plus 33, which is 100. All right, so that's what I'm going to get from this. For set diff, it's going to be 67 minus 33, which is 34. So that is going to be this. For the product, it's going to be 67 times 33, which is, if I did my math right, 2,211. All right, and then that's going to be this one. And then finally for the quotient, it's going to be 67 divided by 33, which is going to be equal like to 2.1 or something like that. And that's going to be this. Then when I call display all, basically what it should do is it should print out that. Does that make sense? And I'm doing it 5 times. All right. Anything in there that doesn't make sense? I'm just letting the system put the numbers, figure out the numbers for me. I mean, imagine that I wanted to run this and I was doing some kind of a statistical analysis thing. And let's say that I needed 10,000 sets of these numbers. I wouldn't want to sit there for my entire 8-hour work shift and put in 2 more numbers, run it, put in 2 more numbers and run it, put in 2, etc. That would be just dumb. It's not that I couldn't do it. But to be honest with you, the chance of me putting in 10,000 sets of numbers and not screwing it up sometime or other, it would happen. I would screw it up. All right? So, this set number 1, what is that doing? It's saying number 1 equal return random number. What does that mean? Well, look at the other one. This next one also says, come on, Number 2 down here equals return random number. So they're both doing the same thing. So what's return random number? I went out to the internet and I typed in, how do I generate a random number between 1 and 100 in Java? And it gave me this. It said you figure out a minimum, you figure out a maximum, and you basically put in that particular formula. So I made my minimum 1 and my maximum 100. Okay? Didn't have to do that. I could have kept them at 1,000 like they were. It doesn't really matter. All right? So in both cases, that's just going to basically call it, this is going to generate a random number between 1 and 100. This is going to generate a random number between 1 and 100. Do those make sense? One thing you have to get into your heads, even if you go, I don't understand the flaming thing you're doing. What you have to understand right now at a minimum is when you do set functions, virtually all the time, their return type will be void. When you do get functions, virtually all the time, you will have a return type that's not void. You will be returning a value. So you have to have your return type be that value that you're returning. All right? These two things are exactly the same. Exactly. Except that in one case, I put number 1 in, and in the other case, I put number 2 in. Does that make sense? All right. The set sum, what's the set sum doing? Sum equal number 1 plus number 2. Now, I can do that because I know I've got a value in number 1, and I know I've got a value in number 2 because I just set them. All right. Set diff. These are all really easy. You get all of them. I know you do. Diff equals number 1 minus number 2. Set prod. Prod equals number 1 times number 2. Now, since I know that the number I generate is between 1 and 100, I don't have to check for it being 0 anymore. It can't be. Because my random number is guaranteed to be between 1 and 100. So quotient is number 1 divided by number 2. Notice when I did that, I said double. All right? And it didn't exactly work the way I wanted to, but I'm casting it right there because I wanted to keep the decimal place. Somehow I lost it, and I'm not worried about that. I can go back and fix it if I want to. Then finally, when I'm done, so I've inputted my first two numbers. I've set the sum, the difference, the product, and the quotient. Then I call display all. All right? And then in display all, what am I doing? Well, I create this big thing that I call output str. It's an output string. That's all it is. And notice how I'm filling it up. Get number, get number, get number, get number, get sum. Get number, get number, get diff. Get number, get prod. Get number, get quote. So now I'm calling all my get functions. So in other words, looking at the, even though I erased it, this right here, when I call get number, we're assuming that's giving me back what I showed you on the board, 67. That's getting me back 33. So this is going to say 67 plus 33 equals 100. 67 minus 33 equals 34. 67 times 33 equals 2111. 67 divided by 100 or by 33 equals 2.1. And then just one big J option pane to print all that stuff out. Like I said, you'll be able to see this. It does work. Unfortunately, the J option pane that comes up on here is so dinky, you can barely see it. You probably can't see it from where you're sitting. I can't. I mean, I got to go like this to see it on the screen. All right. Then finally, the only thing that's left is main. I did something different in here just so you could see it. Notice what I'm doing. I'm creating an array right there. But you've never seen this before. I'm creating an array of objects. We may have done this once in C#. All right? But I'm creating an array of calculator objects that I'm calling numbers array. So there will be 5 of these calculator objects. So each time I instantiate one, what's it going to do? 5 times. It's going to get a number, then add the 2, then subtract the one from the other, then multiply, then divide, then print. Then it's going to get 2 more numbers and do the same thing. And it's going to do that 5 times. So if I run this, Like I said, you probably won't be able to see it. All right. But it says here number 1 equals 16, number 2 equals 20. 16 plus 20 is 36. 16 minus 20 is negative 4. 16 times 20, and my division is wrong. But other than that, everything that's in here is fine. Then here's the next two. 15 and 23, same kind of thing. Then 34 and 6, same kind of thing. All right. 77 and 38, same kind of thing. 34 and 9, same kind of thing. Boom, I'm done. So you have the code for that. All right. And if you want to start understanding this, take a day during the break and key this in. Because why? Hell, I don't want to do that during my. Then don't. All right. I'm not mad at any of you, but I will tell you that I've got a student in one of the first year students. We've had 8 assignments in Java. Each one of them is worth 25 points. He's turned in none of them. He's lost 200 points so far. He's gone from a straight A to a straight C. And I keep mentioning it in class every day. It doesn't seem to, I'll walk by his desk. He's working on the stuff, but he never turns anything in. Pardon my French, that pisses me off. I mean, because he's better than a C student. And there's nothing wrong with being a C student, but he's done A work. That's what gets me. On the tests, a couple tests I put extra credit. He's even done the extra credit and gotten it. But he doesn't do the homework. All right. So I'm going to give you one more handout. Fortunately, it's only one page front and back. So if you're looking for something to do tomorrow after Ms. Zika leaves, I've got another couple of these for you to work on. We are eventually going to I don't know about the calculator. The calculator program, writing that as an app is a lot harder than you think because we have to create buttons for every number, and then we have to set those up, etc. So it's kind of a pain. If we have time, we'll do it. All right? But at a minimum, we're going to do a BMI calculator app. All right? You're going to do it in Java. We're going to do it in Android. We're going to do it in Android Java and in Android Kotlin. All right? We're going to do a currency converter. You're going to do it in Java. We're going to do it in Android Java and in Android Kotlin. We'll at least do 2 other ones. I plan on doing about 4 of them when we get to that point. Probably a tip calculator. That'll be the 3rd one. I don't know what the 4th one will be. If it's a game, it'll be a really simple game. Because to start working with games, you have to understand game theory. And like it or not, that involves some work with physics, and it involves work with collisions. What are you going to do when something hits something else? All right? So I've got this for you. This is the same thing I'm going to hand out that's on the screen. So I'll hand it out. You don't have to turn this in. But this is a big but. No joke. You're writing a BMI calculator, and you're going to write a currency converter. All right? You don't have to turn them in. However, I'm going to assume that you have a BMI calculator and you have a currency converter when we get to that point in class and we start working on them in Android. Does that make sense? I shouldn't have to give you the logic because you'll have it already. Yes. Yes. That's exactly what it is. So instead of
whenever I'm redoing this, type this, that way at least make it less confusing for them to calculate or something like that.
yeah, that makes it easier for you. Yeah.
I think so.
All right. Remember with BMI, I put a minimum of stuff up there. You should be putting in a first name, a last name, a height, and a weight. You should be outputting the first name, the last name, the height, the weight, the BMI, and the BMI status. All right? And if you look up here, this is, and I will email you this file too, but if you look up on the screen, if I control click on the link, it brings this up. There's where I just literally pulled that out. If you don't remember the formula for BMI, it's in here, but it's not written well. Just literally Google BMI formula. All right? And somewhere in there, oops, we want inches, pounds. All right, unless you don't want to do it in inches and pounds. There it is. That's all I did was type in BMI formula, inches and pounds. So it's right there. All right. So you will do that. You'll write separate methods for the inputs and the outputs. Write this one like we did the first calculator. Don't have sets, don't have gets, but have the logic in there. Then go and make a copy of that one and then Java it. So you'll have the same stuff. This is like the second one I just went over with you for the calculator. So you'll have a get first name. Well, you'll have a constructor, a get first name, a set first name, a get last name, a set last name. All right, a get height, a set height, a get weight, a set weight, a get BMI, a set BMI, a get BMI status, a set BMI status, and a display all. Now, one thing I didn't put in here, everybody listening? You don't have to look, but are you listening? I didn't put in, you really should put in some kind of constants for a minimum and a maximum height and weight. I didn't do it. I forgot all about it, but you should. You shouldn't let the person put in a negative height or weight because that's stupid. But if you don't like the ones that I've used, then come up with your own. But you should have constants. Does that make sense? Then you're going to kind of do the same thing, but you're going to write this currency converter where you will put in US dollars and then you will get back either, enter a 1 to give me it in pounds, give me a 2 to put it in dollars, a 3 for Chinese yuan, whatever that is, a 4 for yen, and a 5 for rubles. I literally grabbed that today off of this website. So if you write it and you want to know if yours worked and you put in, and you come in and you put in, for example, $258.12, and you want to know how much that is in Chinese, whatever, you can put that in there, click it, and there it is. So you've got that right there where you can check that. Okay? Does all that make sense? And then you will Javify that. So you'll have a constructor, a get dollars, a set dollars, a get pounds, a set pounds, a get Canadian dollars, a set Canadian dollars, a get Japanese yen, a set Japanese yen, a get rubles, and a set rubles type of thing. Now I'm noticing here I've got what? Dollars, pounds, and I think in here I use Chinese and I didn't put it here. I don't care. You want to have 5 of them like I've got here, fine. If you only want 4 of them or whatever, if I skipped one, I don't really care. All right? What we are going to eventually do when we get one of the first Android programs we're going to create is this. But what we'll do is we'll have drop-down lists. So in other words, you'll have a text box where a label that'll say US dollar amount and then a text box. Then you'll have a drop-down list, and for that drop-down list, it'll have in there, I just put them in alphabetic order, but British pounds, Canadian dollars, etc. You'll pick one of those, you'll click a calculate button, and it'll show you the result. We'll probably even put an image in there, okay? So that it shows some kind of an image for British pounds or whatever. Does that make sense? You don't have to turn this in. I'm trying to get you to use logic and be able to write logic in Java. That's what I'm concerned with in here. When we write this stuff, we're going to write it as a class. But I'm thinking I'm not going to have to spend 1 second explaining the logic of a calculator or the logic of a BMI calculator or the logic of a currency converter or really of that tip calculator that we talked about. Because those should all make sense to you. All right? My guess is Charles is going to sit in here tomorrow until 4:25. All right? I would recommend you don't get up at 4:22 like most of you do and put your clothes on or whatever. I would wait until 4:25 because it bugs the heck out of him when people do that. All right? This is just a suggestion. I know it's Friday and I know you'll want to leave. For all I know, it might be 3:30 and he might say, you know what, why don't you guys just leave? It's a Friday. I don't think he'll do that because it's Charles, but he might. All right, so Ms. Zika will be here tomorrow. My guess is no longer than 12:30 to 1. All right, and when she leaves, I'm going to walk out with her and I'm leaving. All right, now next week is time for you to work on your portfolios. All right, and again, I don't care if you do them in Bootstrap, I don't care if you do them in Mobilize. That is going to be 100 points. All right, just so you know, I took into account what everybody put down for the grades they thought that everybody, in their group deserved, etc. I looked at those. I didn't get Tiffany's, but I can kind of guess what I think she's going to say. Okay, I could be wrong, but I think I can guess pretty accurately what she's going to say. The long story short, I now have everything graded that you've done. All right, and the grade book is up to date. Your grade is in there. All right. All I'm asking is on this project, this is me speaking, on this project you just did for the EDC, don't share your grades with other people. Because I don't want somebody to say, how come he got a 210 and I only got a 200? Because, all right, because why? Because I don't feel like I have to justify that. All right. The majority of you, in fact, basically everybody in here got a pretty high grade. You may not agree with that when you look at it, but basically everybody in here did. All right. So I'm not going to do this now. I don't want to embarrass anybody here. But if you go out to Inside Rankin and you go out right now in Inside Rankin to your grades, it is up to date. So the only thing that has to be added for that is your portfolio. But I'm not going to lie to you. The only time I'm going to be more brutal on your portfolio than this time is next semester. All right. You should have all by now tried to get into iwt.rankin.edu, and everyone should be able to. And you should be able to use FileZilla and start moving stuff over. He said he did. Yeah. Now, the only other thing is, what I'm going to ask is when you move everything over, I want one folder that's called Portfolio. I want to be able to go out to iwt.rankin.edu/alhassan/portfolio. Boom, I want his portfolio to come up. I don't want it where you call it Portfolio 6, version 2. No, I don't want any of that garbage. It's going to look much more professional to go right to the portfolio. All right, and when you're done, I would suggest, especially if you're planning on starting to apply for any jobs, that, and hopefully you're proud of that portfolio, all right, that you make sure you put a link to that and you have that link, all right, on your resume. Not only that, next semester, I would go out at least once a month and make sure all your links still work. Not that something breaks, because if you apply for a job and you've got that portfolio URL out there, and, and if for some reason there's a broken link and somebody clicks on that, that's how you get remembered. That stinks, but that's life. All right? Questions? So you know what you'll be doing tomorrow then? You guys, I take it, are just going to, I don't know, if you want to come up here, that's fine. I'm not going to tape that tomorrow. It's going to, and I'll have to make sure I've got, the whole thing is only probably no more than a gig. So I should be able to throw that on some flash drive someplace. It shouldn't be a problem. I just have to clean one up. All right? Okay. Any questions on anything that we've done today or that we're doing tomorrow or that we're doing next week? Yes, sir. Question was, am I still trying to figure out a way? The answer is yes. And even today, I think I figured out a way that you can work with Azure and not have to give a credit card. That's the good news. The bad news is it's just as hard to get the database, or I'm sorry, the code first one to work in Azure. They've actually got a 233-page PDF on how to do it, which I've started reading through, but it's like making my head spin. So I found an article which kind of summarizes it into about 20 pages. All right, and I'm going to send this all to you, or give this all to you on Monday, but I don't want you to think, yeah, he's making that up. There, it's already, no, it's not 1212. It is, there's somewhere in here, there should be a 1217. That's not it. Yeah. Let me look. There it is. So this is what I found on there. Activating Azure without credit card utilizing MSDN subscription. This code first migrations and deployment with entity framework. These are all Azure articles. Published, this one looked very similar to what we did for the App Harbor. All right, but if we can't get either one of them to work, it's like, well, you might as well just keep the App Harbor one then. And this one was the getting started. So this is that PDF, and it's 292 pages. All right, and I'm not going to lie to you, I'm not going to probably have time to do much with this, but I'm going to try to look through it because they claim it's a step-by-step guide. All right, and I don't know if it. I didn't even look at it. I just ran it off, and you're going to get all this on Monday. But they go through a whole bunch of stuff. But there's something in here that talked about moving it to Azure. Okay. I check every morning when I come in to show you. If I go out to appharbor.com, all right, I go out there and I click on support, and I go down to their, wherever the heck it is, I guess I got to go this way, App Harbor support, and, oh, where is it? There you go. Someplace in here. I don't even remember how I did it, but it shows me, and nobody's replied to it. I showed you all that email I sent. No one's replied to it yet. All right, I've tried. It's just that nobody's replied to it. So there it is, support site. All right, start a discussion. There's the discussion. See, notice reply 0. And I've checked that every morning when I've come in here. There hasn't been anything there yet. If there is, I'm definitely going to let you know. I'll write down the steps. All right.
There's somebody who's been trying to do it for days too. Just to respond to your
Yeah.
post.
I'd be amazed if they say no one else has ever come up with that problem before. I'd say you're a liar. I've tried everything in all of the YouTube videos, and I have got nothing to work. So it's like I said, I hope so. But if nothing else, I'd pick out the best looking projects that you have that are non-database and use those. All right? Even if they're the ones from the book or whatever. I don't consider this closed. It's not closed until we get it answered. So if we get it, if it's February, I'm going to let you know. Then you'll be able to go. That's why I said keep, even if you get rid of Visual Studio, keep your projects. Put them in a flash drive and keep them on your hard drive or whatever. Because if we get those to work, I'm telling everybody. Right? And if nothing else, I'll port all of yours up there if we have to do that. I don't care. That'd be like 16 of them. If I let you each port 2 of them up there, then I'll do it. I don't care. Any other questions? I know that wasn't really an answer, but any other questions? All right, that's all I have.